Hello everybody, I am so glad to see you here today. Thanks for dropping by. We're going to get some practice in some MLA. It's Miss T and I'm so proud of you for showing up on a digital learning day and getting taken care of what we need to. I hate that we don't get to be together, but we will make this work the best we can. So let's jump into what we're going to be doing today. We're not practicing mechanics, usage, and grammar today, but we are going to review some MLA a little bit. So come join me. We're going to jump right into our lesson. So this is review. You've already been doing this kind of work. All right. Maybe wondering why I'm a cute little alien today. Didn't feel like doing my hair and makeup. So, okay, we have practiced citing from websites before. Now we're going to narrow our focus down to citing from a book. So let's try practicing. I want you to do me a favor and go run through your house really quick and go grab a book so that you can practice with your own book at home. Go run and get one. I'll wait. Pause the video. Okay, I'm going to practice with my own book here, Dear Martin. This is one that we read a chapter from back in August. So here's what I'm going to need for my recipe. I'm going to need the author's name, the title, where it was published, the publisher, and the publication year. I'm going to help you find all that information from your book and figure out how to format this into a citation. We see Dear Martin's written by Nick Stone, but that's the only info that we have on the cover, so we're going to need to go inside the cover. You've done this before. Come on, let's just review. So if you can watch my screen here that it's loading, I'm going to flip from the first title page to the inside of the title page, which is going to have all my publication info that I'm going to need. So here we have the author's name. We know the title. Here's what I'm going to need to find. I need to find where was it published, who published it, and what year it was published, and I can find all of that. So I'm scrolling through and I'm looking for a city, and there it is. It was published in New York. All I need is the city. I really don't need the city and the state. I can see published in the United States by Crown Books. There's my publisher, Crown Books. When was it published? 2017. It's right there. Everything I need. Boom. Done. So I'm going to put it in the right format that I'm supposed to have, which is author's last name, comma, first name, period. The titles of books are always italicized. So that way we know this is a longer work. We know it's a whole book. Now, if I were referencing just a short story in a book of short stories or a poem in a whole book of poems, then I would put this in quotation marks, but I would still italicize the book title. Now I need to plug in the city it was published, and then the publisher, and then the year. Now for these, they're all separated by commas until you get to the year, and we put a period. So I have New York, comma, Crown Books, comma, 2017, period. So here's how I remembered it. It starts with a comma and ends in a period. And in between you have two periods and two commas. So that's kind of my formula for if I were taking a test and trying to memorize this, because guys, come on, most of us are going to use EasyBib to come up with our citations, but what do you do for a test when you can't look up anything? So I remember for books, it's comma, period, period, comma, comma, period. Comma, two periods, two commas, and a period. So that's kind of what I'm going to be looking for. All right, so let's test out what we know. Let's try this. All right, I'm going to give you 3 choices to cite the hate you give. Can you find the right one? I'm going to give you just a second. And I did put the formula right there underneath. See if you can find it. All right, right away. I know that there's some problems. Only 2 of them begin with the author's last name, comma, first name, period. But then we run into the issue I just talked about. You don't put novels in quotation marks, and you never ever put punctuation marks on the outside of quotation marks. No, so many things wrong with B. C is wrong because it doesn't start off with the author's last name, so we know it has to be A. All right. Let's move on. Let's look at in-text citations. I'm going to take a quote from Dear Martin. Right here, I put, if you know the page number, included in the parenthesis right after the quote. Include the author's last name unless you already did in the sentence. And I'm going to show you 2 different examples of that. Here's my first sentence. Involving young adults in criminal and court proceedings is difficult on a child. sitting on the witness stand, just wishes he could go back to the days when all he had to worry about was his mama not liking his girlfriends. And then because I didn't use Miss Stone's name in the sentence before the citation, I do need to include it in that citation. And I'm going to put that period on the outside. That's another one that we seem to struggle with. All right, so what if I did want to put the author's last name? How would that look different? So I put right here Stone, because we always reference our authors by their last name. Stone illustrates the difficulty of court proceedings on a child. And I use the same quote, but instead of doing Stone 140, I just say 140 because I've already used the author's name in the sentence. Does that make sense? All right. So let's look at ones that weren't done correctly and see if you can figure out what's wrong with them. All right, so here's what I'm supposed to be doing. My last name and page number is all I need. And so let's look at what's wrong with these, because these are the common ways that I see students using in-text citations. So pretend like the quote is here. What's wrong with this one? Well, a couple things. I'll give you a second to think about it. If you said no punctuation marks on the inside of the quotation marks, you're right. The only thing that we needed was a period on the outside of our citation. That's it. And we're missing the author's last name in the citation. Otherwise, it would be right. Right here, too. Right here, we see where the period's on the outside of the quote, and we never need a P or the word page for our page number. We simply just put the number. And that's where this one went wrong. I put a P for page number, and you don't need that. You actually just need the author's last name and page number. Did this one do it correctly then? Oh, they almost had it. Unfortunately, they put a period on the inside of the quotation marks when no punctuation is needed, actually. All you need is that period on the outside of your citation. Then it's flawless. I hope this is starting to make sense. All right. Well, guess what? That was the easiest way to cite books, but sometimes it's not always so simple. What happens if my book has more than one author? Here's a textbook right here. It's a psychology textbook, and if you notice, it has two authors. Now, how do I cite that? Well, actually, you would do the first author that's mentioned, last name, comma, first name, just like we did before, but instead of putting a period, put a comma, and then you write the word and first and last. So here's how it would look. Armstrong, comma, Gary, comma, and Philip Kohler. Now, what happens if there's more than two? All right, so this one is another textbook, and it has more than two, but the only thing I'm going to need to use is that first author who's mentioned. But instead of having to list anyone else's name, I'd still use my comma, and I put et al. This is how mine would look for this one. Frost, comma, Raymond, comma, et al. Period. That's it. So MLA just updated not that long ago, and one of the things updated is how to cite an ebook. So I was reading The Hate You Give as an ebook. How would I cite it? Here's what's really, really interesting that I didn't know. All you have to do is change the publishing city, like we've seen New York for the last two examples, to the word ebook, just like this, capital E-book. That's it. If you need extra help, I'm going to provide you with a resource so that you can double check your answers. Always feel free to go back through this video. Take care. I'm glad you stopped by, and I appreciate it greatly. And if you have a request for a new character, just let me know.